The creepiest people on Dr. Phil. Americans have always liked to be aware of themselves, just like they've always liked their food. Popping pills, they turn to self-help books and experts on television to boost their moods or just help them get through whatever they're going through in life. When such is the case, it's hard to figure out for a fact why they turn to TV experts like Dr. Phil, while being a skeptic of actual experts like Sigmund Freud. But before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Living in the virtual world. In today's world, smiley face emoticons seem to have replaced actual genuine emotions, just as texting has replaced actual physical conversation. And through all this, the ability to truly know oneself has become harder nonetheless. People today are so dazed and introverted that they seem ashamed to see what lurks in their dark inner selves. But the desire to explore more options and seek answers can be understood. And the thought of therapies to achieve this desire can be so taunting in a promising way. This is because these so-called therapies promise to find a solution to the problem without actually knowing what it is. And people are in such a hurry to avoid all that introspection that even the ones who try to put out some positive efforts consider themselves miserable failures when they don't seem to yield any results. It's like they're messed up in the head. Although they're trying to run away from these feelings, they end up manifesting themselves stronger in various forms, including addictions, phobias, or even obsessions. Why don't we talk about Dr. Phil? Dr. Phil may be a product of Oprah Winfrey, but when it comes to delivering television medicine, there's no one better than him. He's become a part of people's daily routine ever since his show premiered in 2002. There's a reason why some people need Dr. Phil. The type of psychological thinking that people have today makes them attribute any type of problem they encounter to a psychological disorder. And they think they desperately need psychological intervention. For instance, when we're depressed, angry, or just feel insecure, we often attribute these feelings to having low self-esteem. Similarly, when we finally start to understand our various behavioral patterns, we say we have simply become lazy, or that we lack discipline, or maybe even control. We not only induce these thoughts in ourselves, but other people in similar positions. We accuse them of being greedy, manipulative, untrustworthy, or irresponsible. Sometimes we even go to the extent of calling them. So this has shown that we're not capable of handling ourselves, and some of us do need psychological help, preferably from someone like Dr. Phil, in order to not involve ourselves in such things as alcohol or drugs, which may arise due to the hardships we face that sink us into depression and other psychological issues. Although many have come out with their own criticism and opinions about Dr. Phil, there are others who think otherwise. But the truth is out there somewhere, and it's got to be left for the viewers to decide. Dr. Phil's shameless exploitation of the Zahau community. Rebecca Zahau, also known as Rebecca Nalepa, was an American immigrant of Burmese origin. Although she had been born in Phalam of the Chin State, a town situated in the Chin Hills in northwestern Burma, she relocated to many places including Nepal and Germany, before finally settling down in the United States. Her father is Kua Ninh Tang, and her mother's name is Zung Tin Par. In 2002, she was married to the 36-year-old Neil Nalepa, who was a nursing student from Scottsdale, Arizona. However, they divorced in 2011. She had even been dating Shaknai while still being married to Nalepa in 2008. She worked as an ophthalmic technician, but quit her job in December of 2010. Rebecca Zahau mysteriously died on July 13, 2011, at the age of 32, at the Spreckles Mansion in Coronado, California. She lived there with her boyfriend, millionaire and CEO of Medix Pharmaceutical, Jonah Shaknai. It was the same beachfront in which Jonah's 6-year-old son, Max, had taken a fatal fall from the staircase banister. Zahau's death occurred 2 days after Max died. Zahau's family claimed their daughter committed suicide and filed a lawsuit against the Shaknais. The jury responded by saying that Jonah Shaknai's brother, Adam Shaknai, was responsible for Zahau's death and granted her family a $5 million judgment. The site Rumor Fix, apparently owned by Dr. Phil's son, has reported that Dr. Phil will not be paying for the second autopsy or the exhumation of Zahau. Although it isn't clear whether his producers directly paid for the autopsy or not, the findings of the second autopsy, however, have been planned to be released on one of the Dr. Phil episodes, whereas Dr. Wetch has offered to conduct the autopsy free of cost. But there may be additional costs which will be taken from the Zahau family fund.
Keith, can you walk us through it?
We were always very confident we were going to win this case, but what was really interesting is...
And Phil and his producers seem to have contributed to it. Of course, all this may just be a publicity stunt, but people will never know for sure. Confessions of the husband. Michelle found out the shocking truth about her husband when he finally seemed to confess, but the confession came with him failing a polygraph test. Michelle thought that she and Wade had a perfect marriage, until she found out the secret he was keeping from her. Although Wade has a different story to tell. He says he only did it to protect her. She says that she has the feeling that he's keeping more secrets from her. She's even discovered a couple of them, one of which includes him being a Michelle found magazines all over their house, including under the rugs, behind the dressers, and not to mention, under the seats of their truck. She goes on to say that she found some of his work shirts in his truck, smeared with perfume. He would often say to her that he'd be home early, but end up coming home late. All of this and several other incidents had convinced her that he was cheating on her. Wade said Michelle was always like a prosecutor asking him questions. He says she even forced him to take a polygraph test, which he failed miserably. He failed to answer 2 out of the 3 questions that were asked to him on the test. Dr. Phil asked Michelle on his show why she wanted to be on it. She replies by saying that she wanted to find out if she can trust her husband ever again. She only wanted for Wade to understand that he needed some sort of help. Wade responds by saying that he does not need help. He finally said he won't lie anymore and he'll tell nothing but the truth. Dr. Phil tells Wade that lying isn't the problem anymore, and he says that his wife will leave him if he doesn't take the opportunity to tell his wife all that has to be said. Are they m***ers? Sandy and Casey Parsons adopted their niece after her biological mother Erica was not in a position to take care of her anymore. When the child went missing from their home in 2011, Erica's brother alleged that his mother had killed her and buried her in the backyard. This was about 2 years later. Later, when Erica's adoptive parents, Sandy and Casey, went on the Dr. Phil show to plead for their daughter's return, they claimed that a woman named Irene Goodman, who claimed to be her grandmother, had taken her to a farm. Dr. Phil says that the police have told him they were unable to find any Irene Goodman who was related to this case. And so he said there was something amiss here, and he was right. In 2014, Erica's adoptive parents were found guilty on fraud charges, as they claimed adoption insurance knowing full well Erica was no longer around. The couple also continued claiming Erica on taxes. In 2016, however, Erica's father had no choice but to lead investigators to where the couple had buried Erica's body parts. They've been convicted of concealment of obstruction of justice.
And they had purchased all new clothes for her, brand new clothes, with tags, even the coat.
I Married a Rapist. Joy married a man named Robert Howard Bruce, whom she thought was her Prince Charming. 6 years later, however, she saw the face of a man that seemed to resemble Robert, whom the police called the Ether Man, and was a rapist on the run, according to them. The report said that he was believed to have attacked dozens of women all across the southwestern United States in 19 years. She wondered what she had missed when she thought he was perfect for her. Robert had married twice already, and his first and second wife opened up as to what made them marry a monstrous person such as Robert. Mandra, Robert's second wife, said she may have been a victim of the Ether Man. In one incident that happened to her on one night in 1999, she says she saw a man staring at her through her window. This is while she was still a college student in New Mexico. She goes on to say that even her roommate saw a man jumping the fence. She says she was fortunate to have not been by him. She says they don't know who he might be or what he may have done. She goes on to add that she doesn't take the car all by herself at night, and that she's afraid to sleep alone in the dark.
Do you talk to your dad?
I haven't, no.
Have you, Jared?
Yes.
Have you said to him?
Befriending a rapist. A girl, Emily, has said that she was 14 years of age. She goes on to say that she was with a group of older guys when she put on a pair of handcuffs, just for amusement. However, the guys took immediate advantage of this opportune moment, surrounded her, and told her to take off her clothes. The ringleader even threatened her that he would burn her with cigarette butts. He went on to say that she had to have oral with every guy present in that group. She says although she tried to get out and away from it, she was one of the men, but she never pressed charges or even told her parents about the incident. Over the next decade, her life took a turn for the worse. She says her life became darker than ever as she started battling alcohol abuse, not to mention weight issues. She was falling apart and had nightmares which made her wet the bed and gain a tremendous amount of weight. And to add to all that, she even developed a full-fledged issue. She said she was unable to face what had happened to her. On September of 2010, however, she received a friend request from the guy who had raped her. This came as a shock to her. She didn't know what to do and wanted to shut down the computer and run. She knew that she had questions that only he'd be able to answer, and the two spoke over phone. The rapist told her that he thought what had happened on that fateful day was consensual. He even apologized to her repeatedly. So, these are some of the creepiest people to have appeared on Dr. Phil. Some of these stories might be touching, but most are pretty shocking. However, whatever may have affected them in their lives, things seem to have calmed down now, and their lives have more or less returned to normal. But they'll never forget these tragic incidents that have happened to them in the past.